Michael Brown was nominated by President Bush to a number of Homeland Security positions and twice confirmed by the Senate.
Earlier this evening, I spoke with Mike Brown, the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. He's coordinating disaster relief of a dozen federal agencies and the American Red Cross.
All right, former FEMA Director Michael Brown, thank you so much for joining us.
Michael Brown, former FEMA Director. Thank you, Michael, as always.
This episode of The Michael Brown Show on BCR is brought to you by BCP Builder. Want to improve your organization's resilience and build a business continuity plan? With the BCP Builder's template, you can feel confident that your plan will include all of the information required. The instructions will help you work through the planning process at your own pace and without confusion. For more information, please visit bcpbuilder.com.
And now, The Michael Brown Show on BCR.
So welcome to this episode of The Michael Brown Show on the Blue Cell. I'm sitting here with my friend, my business partner, my buddy, the founder of the Blue Cell, Todd Mans.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, Michael. How are you?
Good. You're nervous about doing this, and I find that funny.
Well,
because you know what? You know this business, and yet here it is you're nervous about it.
It's not that I'm nervous. I just don't like being
you don't
on
like
the
doing
show.
It. Right, you don't like doing it.
It's an ongoing joke. I don't really want to be on the show, but happy to be here today. I know we've got some things to talk about, some new stuff going on. It's exciting, so it's
well,
the right time.
Let me go back in history just a little bit.
Okay.
So I get this message from you, I don't know, it seems like 20 years ago.
Right.
And you and I just go, we go to Panera or someplace and have coffee.
Back when we could do that.
Yeah, when we could do that. Maybe we can do that again maybe in next week or so. And you told me all about the Blue Cell. I start digging around, start doing my due diligence and vetting and all of that. And I realized that, holy crap, you've got this really great company that's been in existence for, 12 years now?
10 years, yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
And you're doing Homeland Security, crisis management, emergency management, and you're doing it, and I'm saying this as the old FEMA guy, you're doing it in a no BS way. You're doing it where it's just it's no nonsense training, it's no nonsense exercises, it's no nonsense consulting, because you're kind of a no nonsense guy.
Well, people have said that. That's probably true. Kind of a no nonsense guy, or maybe it comes across that way because in reality, for us, and this is something that we've realized over 10 years, and especially in the last couple of years and in the last couple of months, it is about building capability,
right.
And it is about those individuals who are out there, and maybe much less about other things. And so for the entities that do this on the governmental side, they have other factors that they have to consider. The grant is a driving force, politics are a driving force. We don't really have that as an issue, so right. I think it definitely comes across that we're trying to get to that point that it's not that the customer's always right, but the student is always the most important thing to us, and what they're getting, out of us, and that's why we've designed some of the new things that we have going on.
Because those students need to understand, and this is why I'm so glad to be a part of this. Those students need to understand that when the proverbial hits the fan, they need to know what their capabilities are, what their organization's capabilities are, and if they don't have those capabilities, how on the fly to get that, so that you can handle the crisis, you can actually do what needs to be done.
Right. In the end, that should be what the focus is, in my opinion, that a lot of the things that are being done should be driving to specifically that day and that ability to respond to whatever the issue is. So we try to keep that focus, certainly in all the different things that we do with all of our folks that work for us and all the products that we have.
So if I can, this is probably not a very good marketing statement to make, but I'm going to say it anyway, and then you can just kick me under the table.
Okay.
When someone signs up for one of our courses, or they go through one of our exercises or training programs or whatever it's going to be, of course we're going to have fun, but you're going to learn.
Right.
And you're going to be pushed. You're going to kind of be pushed to your limits so that you know what those limits are.
Right.
So that when you're in the field, that's not a surprise to you.
Exactly. There has to be a level of intensity.
Yeah.
And so we've seen that that can be a challenge on occasion. And like you said, it can't all be intensity, but with the end goal being that you're trying to be better prepared, you've got to feel a little bit of that heat before you actually get into the fire. So we really try to at least instill some of that in our training, and certainly do try to have a good time, and we try to build those relationships, because I think that's important too, because that's going to help you when you get into the big one.
Right.
We certainly have found that that's the case, here with what's going on, in the country and in the world right now with the response that's happening. So intensity is a good thing, but too much of that can be a bad thing.
Right. So you have to have fun, so that you're willing to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of opens things up quite a bit.
Right.
You bet.
Well, let's talk about, because when you and I first kind of got to know each other, this studio didn't exist.
Right.
This office didn't exist.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of things that didn't exist.
Right.
But I remember you talking about, it was like if I had a thought cloud over your brain, it was just jumbled with all of these different ideas.
Right.
And all those ideas, I would say 90% of them have now come to fruition.
They have, and for the facility side of it, for 9.5 years, we literally liked the idea of taking the training out to wherever the folks were.
Right.
It's more convenient for them. Sure. It's more cost effective for them, mm-hmm. and even from a business perspective, there's less of an overhead that had to be dealt with. But there was always the thought somewhere in my head that, hey, we're going to need a facility. We're going to want to do that, and I didn't want to rush into it. But certainly a year ago, we really started down that path, mm-hmm. and then there were a few other things that came together at the same time to really create what we have today, which is a facility in Aurora, Colorado, plus a studio for you. We've got workspace for our folks, and a lot of versatility, not only in the facility, but also with the property that we're on. Yeah. Because we're out here at Southlands. And so to pull all that together, it took a lot of folks working really hard to figure things out. And I can remember when we walked this space initially, and we couldn't even get in. And I could kind of see where I thought I wanted to go. I'd been in enough EOCs and classrooms and joint information centers to figure out what we wanted it to look like. But now literally we have the package of, you can come in to us for training. We can put on a lot of training here. We still have our trailer capability and our SimCell capability and all the things that we've done with Chelsea County over the years. Now, the Chelsea County EOC is actually a real place opposed to a notional place. And now, folks can come in and really live it as real as we can make it, really.
And that's what people are seeing as we're talking. They're showing some of that now of the interactive training center and all of that. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
This episode of The Michael Brown Show on BCR is brought to you by PS Tracks, the leading system for operations, checks, and logistics management. Visit www.pstracks.com today.
And so, we'll continue to expand on it. And now when we drop our full curriculum in, it really force multiplies our ability to connect with that student. Being in Colorado, it also gives us the ability for the West Coast folks mm-hmm. to get to us probably a little bit easier than getting all the way back to Emmitsburg, let's say. One of our new products is really designed around the emergency manager today that identifies as that, but is not a government employee.
Right.
And with COVID, we've certainly now seen that emergence just explode. Mm-hmm. So we have this new academy that we're going to be doing here starting in July, and it'll run for 2 weeks. And it is truly an immersion course and has a lot of different aspects to it, to include a functional exercise at the end and interacting out here on the property with some of the property owners, that type of thing. So we're really excited to try to pull all that together into one package.
I really think it's great that, to your point about a lot of emergency managers are no longer government officials.
Right.
A lot of businesses have recognized, I mean, they've always talked about business continuity and all
Right.
of that, but now they recognize that even a small company may need an emergency manager, somebody who's the focal point
Right.
that when something happens,
Right.
either externally or internally to that
Right.
company, how do they react and respond?
Yeah, we kind of use that same precept, and we've tried to evolve that to a consequence manager who's going to respond in an emergency.
Yeah.
Because the term emergency management can be a little bit, it can be a misconception
Yes.
in some cases. Not only for the citizenry, for the company, for the government officials, and even for the person in the
Right,
job.
right.
Am I running around in a truck with a light bar? Am I actually just the person who writes plans? I mean, there's so many different
Right,
ways
right.
that it's evolved since the civil defense days. The fact of the matter is, you need consequence management capability, and you can apply it to emergencies. You can apply it to planned events.
Yeah.
You can apply it to non-emergency situations. So we really are emphasizing within this new curriculum hitting those salient points,
Yeah.
but really doing it for the business-minded person or the person in a Fortune 500 company or an emergency manager at a prison,
Right.
an emergency manager at a long-term care facility. Some of the things that have really come to light as a challenge, and maybe we weren't exactly spot on with the right tools to kind of effectively deal with those problems.
Let's talk about two things. I want to talk
Sure.
about distance learning,
Okay?
and I want to talk about the ITC.
Okay.
So let's talk about distance learning first, because I think this is the Blue Cell's on the cutting edge when it comes to this.
So in the distance learning realm, one of the things that we did was try to identify some new ways to approach the ability through a learning management system of getting information. And I think distance learning does need to be force multiplied. So we have a full curriculum now and a partner here in Colorado that's been in business for 40 years
Right.
in the distance learning
Right.
business.
They kind of know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. So we've gotten together with them to build some curriculum that moves a little faster, takes in things that are contemporary, and we have the ability to adjust that curriculum to contemporary events. So we're not waiting 5 years for a committee to go back through the class that's been
Right.
online for 10 years. We're able to kind of adjust to that. I think it's also important that that distance learning piece have some interactivity, and so we are definitely looking at the ideas of how do we have a distance learning student also take advantage of our interactive training center. So that's a natural segue to what is the interactive training center?
Right.
Well, it's a place where we can do classes in it,
Yep.
like traditionally. But certainly we also have increased the ability to live broadcast from here to students wherever they may be on a number of different topics. And it wasn't something that came up as a result of COVID. We had been working on it for about a year, trying to really put that together. And now it's come completely full circle. So whether it's in a distance mode, or you come to us, or we come to you, or we just go over the internet, we now have 4 ways to pull that information together, come up with a product that really works, and be as effective as possible for many, many different levels of students that are out there.
Right. It's amazing to me because you're right. I can attest to the fact that we've been talking about this for a long time, and then we get it set up, and then COVID-19 hits, and we look out at that ITC and realize that, the whole world is now catching up to what we're doing in terms of being able to, okay, we understand that maybe because, forget COVID.
Right.
But because of just time, distance, money, whatever.
That's right.
We can now deliver that to you wherever you are.
And we still also have our particular set of canned, classes that we do, incident command system classes, G classes. We work very closely with the state of Colorado. In fact, we're going to do the first G course, which is a state delivery of a FEMA course. We're going to be doing ICS-EOC interface virtually. And we've partnered with the state training officer to figure out how we're going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Because we need their buy-off
Yep.
and we want their certification. But we happen to have the facility and the ability to put that together. So that's something that will be coming up in about 3 weeks as a first delivery. So in addition to the new things that we've created, we still have our traditional trainings that we do, and we're really trying to figure out how to force multiply them into different platforms of delivery.
Right.
This episode of The Michael Brown Show on BCR is brought to you by Weston Distance Learning. Weston Distance Learning is a fully accredited distance learning institution with an A+ rating from the BBB. For over 35 years, they have trained thousands of men and women for rewarding careers. For more information, visit westondistancelearning.com.
So we've talked about distance learning, the ITC. We've talked about the learning management system. What have I missed?
Let's see. We could talk about your show. Let's talk about your show.
Okay, you want to talk about my show?
Yeah, let's talk about
my show.
Let's talk about the show.
Because I love this show. So every 2 weeks we do a video podcast.
Right.
Last week we had the Senior Vice President of Intrado in.
Correct.
And we talked to him about the whole text messaging service for 911 calls.
Right.
And quite honestly, I found that that conversation fascinating because what they're doing with the public service, the public system access points, the PSAPs, and here they are with a great tool. And he was so honest about, we want to get this everywhere. Now, of course, they do have a profit motive.
Sure.
And that's fine.
Right.
But they also have an absolute idealistic reason for doing it too, and that is we're all on our
devices.
We're all on our devices.
Right.
And you think about the thing he talked about that fascinated me was the individual that maybe is, particularly right now during COVID, is in an abusive situation.
Sure.
Or whatever it might be. Or they've got there's a home intruder.
Right.
And they're hiding in a closet somewhere.
Right.
They don't want to make a phone call, but they can do a text.
Right.
It was a fascinating conversation. So what we've set up is every 2 weeks doing these podcasts, video and audio podcasts of things that we think are helpful and deliver really good information to not just our customers because I've looked at the graphics and the info that we get. People outside our industry are listening to this too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is probably the third leg of the changes that we've made at Blue Cell, and we are really moving towards this community concept.
Yeah.
And within that community, we're just trying to provide content, whether that be an article or
Kristen does these great articles.
Great writer, Kristen Pilati, our writer there, and so it's kind of coming together in that I'd like to see that community continue to evolve and expand to where folks are talking directly with one another.
Right.
So in addition to all of the trainings and the things that we do still in exercise and coming to ITC or whatever the case may be, within that Bravo Charlie Ready community, we really are trying to put together a place for folks to find information, share information, because I think that's going to be a key moving forward as we know things are more complex than they've ever been.
Right.
And if we haven't figured that one out, we got problems.
Yeah, if we don't recognize that now, it's too late.
And the days of it'll never happen here,
right.
We'll never hear that again in a classroom.
Right.
And so for our advocates out there, that's a fantastic possibility and tool to now be able to go back to that commissioner or that mayor or whoever who said, well, give me the grant money, but it's never going to happen here.
Yeah.
They've been in their house for 3 months.
Exactly.
It just happened to you.
Right.
It just happened to everyone.
Right.
And so as we get better on this, we get better on other things, and I think that's just all part of the evolution of what we do and what's going on.
And let me just add, it also applies to the CEOs
That's
and
right.
the COOs
That's right.
who are sitting there that they realize what's happened to them.
That's right.
And so now they understand, maybe that guy that he wasn't in the room when we asked somebody to be the business continuity guy or the emergency manager,
right.
So you're not there. No, now they're going to take it a lot more seriously.
That's right.
As they should.
That's right.
As they absolutely should. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is the web portal, which we're about finished with. We've been working on that for a while, but it's just about finished. Tell me what we're going to be able to do when you go to the bluecell.com.
So at the new bluecell.com, we've tried to simplify it from the landing page, but have a lot of content that really takes you into all aspects of all the things that we've done and developed over time. And that includes Chelsea County, USA, and the usage of our sim site, the ability to purchase TTX Vault and canned exercise. We've added a new component to that allows you not only to purchase the exercise, build it yourself, but also a little bit of instruction on how to put it on virtually, since that's a direction that we're going. The NIM store's connected in through the portal now. We've got a new apparel line and some other products that are coming on, and some great partners that we're working with. So the idea in the portal is you literally go to that one landing page and then pick your poison as to where you want to go after that, because we have so many customers that want so many different things. I'm not going to say there's something there for everyone, but there's a lot of stuff there.
There's a lot of stuff there.
And if you can't find what you need there, then there's actually a place to where you can email me, because we love creating things. If that's what we need to do. So we actually have a team that can pull that off.
So everybody be sure and go check thebluecell.com. Check it out, thebluecell.com. Partner, friend, what else?
That's it. I'll be on the show again next year.
I had to drag him in here to do this today. It was like pulling a wisdom teeth to get him here, but I got him here, and I'm glad you did it. I appreciate it.
Well, we can't do a lot of these things without your input and your effort and your help, and we sure appreciate you too, Michael. So,
well, I love
thanks
doing
for having
it.
me on the
Absolutely
show.
love doing it. So, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Everybody, take care.